Victoria stood at baggage claim carousel number 3, watching the same black suitcases circle endlessly like a meditation on modern travel. At 54, she'd perfected the art of blending into crowds. Her beige blazer over a red dress was professional without drawing attention. Her auburn hair styled simply, her entire presence designed to be unremarkable. After 30 years as a corporate accountant and a decade since her divorce, she'd become an expert at being invisible. She spotted what she thought was her suitcase, the same generic black roller bag as 1,000 others, grabbed it without checking the tag, and headed toward the exit. She had exactly 45 minutes to make it to her sister's house across town before the dinner she'd promised to attend. Behind her, a man in a dark suit stood frozen at the carousel, staring at the empty space where his luggage should have been. Victoria made it halfway home before she noticed the small leather tag hanging from the handle. Her suitcase didn't have a leather tag. Her heart sinking, she pulled over and checked the name embossed in gold letters, Gabriel Thornton. She opened the bag to confirm her mistake and immediately knew this wasn't an ordinary traveler. Expensive shirts still in dry cleaning plastic, a laptop that probably cost more than her monthly rent, leather-bound notebooks, and a small black box she didn't dare open. Everything spoke of wealth and careful organization. At the bottom, she found a manila envelope marked Private. Inside was a photograph that made her breath catch. A beautiful woman and a young boy, maybe 8 years old, both smiling at the camera. On the back, someone had written, "Julia and Marcus before." Before what? Victoria wondered, her accountant's mind already spinning scenarios. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Hello?" "You have my suitcase." The voice was deep, measured, with an edge of carefully controlled frustration. "Black roller bag, carousel 3. I'm so sorry," Victoria said immediately. "I wasn't paying attention. I have yours, which means you must have mine. I can turn around right now." There was a pause, then a heavy sigh. "I'm still at the airport. Gate B7, how quickly can you get here?" 20 minutes, maybe less." "I'll wait." Victoria executed an illegal U-turn and headed back, her sister's dinner forgotten. She felt terrible about the mix-up, but also curious about this Gabriel Thornton, who carried photographs marked Before in his luggage. She found him sitting in an empty gate area, her plain suitcase at his feet. He stood as she approached, and Victoria's first thought was that he looked exhausted. Handsome, probably in his early 40s, with dark hair and the kind of bearing that came from commanding rooms full of people, but his eyes held a weariness that no amount of expensive clothing could hide. "Gabriel Thornton," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "Victoria Hayes. Again, I'm so sorry about the confusion. These things happen." He glanced at his watch, a gesture Victoria recognized from countless executives she'd worked with over the years. Always checking the time, always calculating the cost of every moment. They exchanged luggage, and Victoria should have left. Should have headed to her sister's house and forgotten this entire embarrassing incident. Instead, she found herself saying, "I saw the photograph. I didn't mean to snoop, but I wanted to make sure I had the right bag." Gabriel's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across his face before the professional mask returned. "My wife and son. Ex-wife now. The photo was taken 7 years ago, before the divorce." "I'm sorry," Victoria said, and meant it. "Don't be." It was inevitable. "I worked too much. She wanted different things. We grew apart." The usual story of corporate success and personal failure. He said it matter-of-factly, as if reciting a financial report rather than describing the dissolution of his family. Victoria recognized that tone. It was the same one she'd used when describing her own divorce, reducing years of pain to a tidy summary that kept the emotions safely locked away. "My ex-husband used to say I married my calculator instead of him," Victoria offered, surprising herself. He wasn't entirely wrong. "I spent 20 years building a career and forgot to build a life." Gabriel looked at her with sudden interest, really seeing her for the first time. "You're an accountant?" "Was. I took early retirement last year. Now I'm trying to figure out what comes next." She laughed, but it came out sadder than she intended. Turns out I'm not very good at it. I still organize everything like a spreadsheet, still plan my days in 15-minute increments. I don't know how to just live. Something in Gabriel's carefully controlled expression cracked. I have 17 minutes before my car service arrives. Would you like to get coffee? They found a quiet corner in an airport cafe, surrounded by hurried travelers and the constant announcements of departures and arrivals. Gabriel ordered black coffee. Victoria got tea she didn't really want, and they sat across from each other like two survivors of the same war. I've been carrying that photograph for 3 years, Gabriel admitted, staring into his coffee. My therapist says it's unhealthy, that I need to let go and move forward. But I keep it as a reminder of what I lost because I couldn't stop working long enough to notice my family was disappearing. What do you do? Victoria asked gently. I'm the CEO of Thornton Industries. We manufacture medical equipment. Very important, very demanding, very all-consuming. He smiled without humor. I built a company that saves lives and lost my own family in the process. My son barely speaks to me now. He's 15, and I'm essentially a stranger who sends birthday cards and child support. Victoria's heart ached with recognition. My daughter is 30. She lives in Portland with her wife and their 2 children. I see them maybe twice a year. When I retired, I told myself I'd have more time for family, but the truth is I don't know how to be a mother now. I was always better at balance sheets than relationships. Do they know? Gabriel asked. Your daughter and grandchildren? Do they know you want to be closer? I've never told them. I'm afraid they'll say it's too late, that I missed my chance. Victoria was shocked at her own honesty. She didn't share these things, not even with her therapist. Gabriel leaned forward, his executive polish falling away to reveal something raw underneath. I've been waiting for a sign, he said quietly. Some cosmic indication that it's not too late to fix what I broke, to try again. But I'm terrified of being rejected, of reaching out and having my son confirm that I'm exactly what I fear, a father who chose success over family. What if the sign isn't cosmic? Victoria said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. What if it's just a woman accidentally taking the wrong luggage, forcing you to wait at an airport and have an honest conversation with a stranger who understands exactly what you're feeling? Gabriel stared at her, and Victoria saw the exact moment when something shifted in his eyes. Hope, fragile and uncertain, but real. I was supposed to fly home, go to my empty penthouse, review quarterly reports, and continue this carefully maintained life that looks successful but feels hollow, he said. What if instead I called my son tonight? Really called him, not the obligatory monthly check-in, but an actual conversation where I admit I was wrong and ask if he'd be willing to let me try to be better. What if I bought a plane ticket to Portland tomorrow? Victoria countered, feeling something awaken in her chest that had been dormant for years. What if I showed up at my daughter's door and told her I want to be a real grandmother, that I want to learn my grandchildren's favorite books and be there for them in ways I wasn't there for her? They sat in silence for a moment, 2 people who'd built walls around their hearts with spreadsheets and quarterly earnings, suddenly seeing a way forward. It might be too late, Gabriel said, but his voice held possibility now instead of resignation. Or it might not be, Victoria replied. We'll never know unless we try. Gabriel's phone buzzed. His car service had arrived, but instead of standing immediately, he pulled out his phone and right there at the cafe table, he called his son. Victoria watched as Gabriel's voice cracked while talking to the boy. Watched as years of professional composure dissolved into honest emotion. She heard him say, I'm sorry. I want to do better. Will you give me a chance? She saw the tears that Gabriel didn't bother to hide when his son said yes. When he hung up, Gabriel looked at Victoria with something like wonder. He said yes. He actually said yes. We're having dinner next week, just the 2 of us. Victoria pulled out her own phone, her hands trembling slightly. She texted her daughter, I know it's sudden, but can I visit this weekend? I want to be a better mom and grandmother. I want to try. The response came back almost immediately. We'd love that. The kids have been asking about you. They'd been asking. Victoria hadn't known. She'd assumed her absence had been accepted, even preferred. She'd been wrong. Gabriel stood, but instead of rushing away, He pulled a business card from his wallet and wrote something on the back. My personal number. I'd like to know how your visit goes. And maybe if you're willing, we could have coffee again sometime. Not networking coffee or business coffee. Just two people who are learning how to be human again. Victoria took the card, her fingers brushing his for a moment. I'd like that very much. They parted at the security checkpoint. Two people who'd accidentally swapped luggage and somehow found something far more valuable in the exchange. Victoria drove to her sister's house thinking about signs and second chances, about how sometimes the universe intervenes through simple mistakes that turn out to be exactly what we needed. Gabriel sat in his car service thinking about the photograph he'd been carrying for 3 years, wondering if maybe it was time to take a new one marked after. One that included the family he was determined to rebuild, and perhaps, eventually, a woman with kind eyes who understood what it meant to choose life over ledgers. Sometimes we wait for grand cosmic signs when life speaks to us through small moments. A mixed-up suitcase, an honest conversation, a stranger who sees past our carefully constructed facades to the loneliness underneath. Sometimes love isn't about finding someone perfect, but finding someone who understands your particular kind of broken and is willing to heal alongside you. Victoria had taken the wrong luggage, but in doing so, she'd found exactly what she'd been missing: hope, connection, and the courage to finally reach for the life she'd been too afraid to claim. And Gabriel, who'd been waiting for a sign to love again, discovered that signs come in unexpected forms, delivered by auburn-haired accountants who accidentally take your suitcase and give you back something far more precious: permission to be vulnerable, to try again, to believe that it's never too late for second chances. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below about a time when a simple mistake led to something meaningful. Your stories inspire us all.